Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rupert Medd. I'm a specialist in environmental literature and history, a subject which I teach and also publish on. So I'm here today, make the effort to come to you. It's this beautiful sierra in the region of Cadiz. And one of the reasons for that is I'm here to talk about the Sustainable Development Goal number 15, terrestrial ecosystems. And here in this park are some of the last remnants of trees that have been left over from the last ice age, a very special tree called the pinsapar. So when we read into Sustainable Goal number 15 is to protect, restore and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, to manage the forest, to combat desertification and halt and reverse land degradation and biodiversity losses. So within that there are very interconnected elements here. So this goal of number 15 actually has a huge set of considerations. The forests come in temperate, rainforest, boreal forests, and within forests are also living are concentrated high levels of biodiversity. So, and also water. The trees by themselves generate springs and moisture and water. So there's a huge interest to protect this form of terrestrial ecosystem. Because without them, we're looking at feedbacks into water loss and biodiversity losses, which then ultimately feed back into the overall parameter here, which was climate change. Trees being fundamental to the planet and to the regulation of the planet as an Earth system. So it's already been accepted and agreed by the theorists of the sustainable developments programs with whom we're studying that the protection of terrestrial ecosystems and forests it's already a boundary that's being transgressed, which means we're already in a situation of peril. We're facing extreme losses of biodiversity, rainforest cover, and that's one of the messages that I would like to get across to you here today, is being a course on human rights and law. We cannot remove human rights from the environment, and the rights for nature come hand in hand. And one of the major things that's happening across the world today in terms of human rights and rights for nature are the fact that they're not working. When you look at the rainforests in Peru, for example, there are 18,000 regulations to protect the rainforest, and the current levels of illegal activity and extraction of timber, wildlife, and of course petroleum is in the high 90s. That's a figure that's accepted by most of the activists, the researchers in the area, and most of the reporters that reported on the front line, that the high levels of illegality. And that is also echoed by the number of people, the high level of eco-activists that have been murdered across that region for standing up for their local communities and for their forests. And these people really should be considered as heroes of humanity. Particularly I'm talking about Chico Mendes, who set the precedence of this in 1988, murdered in Brazil, and Edwin Chota, murdered in Peru in 2014. And most recently Berta Cáceres, who won an award for her environmental stance. These people have stood for and have mobilized and socially mobilized against the illegal activities that are happening. They've called for state protection on all three cases, of which they were denied, and it's ended up in their murder. And Edwin Chota, for example, is a case of going against timber mafias and timber merchants, and also that the way that the forest had been opened up and then was exposing the wildlife to trafficking as well. This is not none of these are current issues, and I want you to know that the rainforest, for example, in Latin America has a long history of this criminal behavior and this awareness. So we're reaching a point where how much awareness do we need, how much science do we need, how many more environmental activists do we need to be murdered before we start to understand that we're actually in a situation that could be called critical and is feeding back into climate change. So the protection of terrestrial ecosystems is absolutely fundamental, and it's a fight that has an urgency attached to it.